With your host, Carl Lenore. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. This was supposed to be a really important show, but my guest is stiffing me. Jean-Francois was supposed to be here to talk about this peptide. I'll talk about it. I'm fine talking about it by myself. But apparently, these are the perils of doing live radio, podcast, TV, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the reasons why I don't want to do this show anymore. I got to be honest with you. Every single day before the show starts, an hour out, 15 minutes out, there's always like a problem. The guests are late. They can't connect. And if I sound like a whiny bitch, I'm sorry, but it really is like for 16 years, I've done this show and I've loved it. But as of late, it's just become unbearable because I just don't understand what we put a widget in the email that we send out to people to be on the show that allows them to click it and tell them exactly what time in their geographical location the show will air. We do everything that we can. We send reminder emails the day before. And yet here I am with my hat in my hand, waiting for a guest who's not going to be here. So we are going to talk about a peptide today called KCF18. It's a very unknown peptide. A lot of the big peptide suppliers don't carry it, but it's a very interesting peptide. It's a completely different approach to managing. Oh, I think we have Jean-Francois showing up now. Let's see.
Yeah, I just saw that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Can you
hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So in your defense, you are in the Middle East. And
yeah, I'm in Dubai, but not in the nice neighborhood, just the popular place.
Okay.
Yeah, that's things to do here.
So let me do this real quick. I have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods. I didn't get a chance to do that yet. Makers of the tasty pastry. You can go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary to learn more, and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off. It is the single best healthy snack out there today. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. Okay, let's bring back. So I was just saying, KCF18 is a little known peptide. And
Yeah.
Good.
It's actually, there is one study that was published on it. I didn't find any new one after that. And I found it to be very interesting because it's an anti-inflammatory that would attend all the inflammation factors, not just EL6 or no, it would like block them all. And actually, by experience, we found that it may actually be too strong to use in high dosages. It could be too much of an anti-inflammatory.
Let's talk about why that is. This is a suicide inhibitor. So a lot of other approaches to managing cytokine storms. We all heard the word cytokine storm during the pandemic. Everyone knows that cytokines are associated with inflammation now. There's lots of therapies out there designed to suppress inflammation. This peptide does not do that. What this peptide does is it actually looks like the cytokine receptor. So it attaches to the cytokine. And once it attaches, then the cytokine cannot fit into a receptor and cause inflammation. This is a very, very novel approach to managing inflammation. It's a suicide inhibitor, right?
That's right. But we knew about suicide inhibitors. If you remember back then, there was anti-aromatase.
Right.
That was, I don't know, they took it off the market.
You're talking about Androstenedione. It was it's introduced by Patrick
Yeah,
and it was a suicide
yeah,
aromatase inhibitor. Right.
back then, and very effective. But you have to be very careful because they can be too effective, like inflammation. Yeah, you want to bring it down, but you don't want to bring it down to zero. So when you have something that's that potent, that strong, you need to really titrate your dosages.
Now,
But otherwise, it makes it an amazing peptide
so
in what it does.
let's talk about suppressing inflammation too far for a second. It was Rob Wolf when at the onset of the paleo movement who proposed that people should take really crazy amounts of fish oil a day to completely crush inflammation. And the people who followed this, including himself, he came around a year or so later and said, I was wrong. I was really wrong about it. But the people who followed this and used mega doses of fish oil found that they couldn't remember stuff. They had lost energy. They didn't feel well. They were always tired. And you would think that that would be the opposite of crushing inflammation. So the short story is inflammation is important. It's not a black or white thing. It's not like, no, you want to crush it or
No,
you got to be careful.
it's not like you have an organ that you don't want and just cut it off. Inflammation has a role. It's like anything. It's just the problem is too much of it. But you need some because it's that little inflammation that triggers other processes that are positive. The same thing, you know, testosterone replacement therapy, right? Now, if you take, you pretty much have high testosterone all the time. So you don't have low part of the day, low testosterone. So what does it do? It's great. You have a high testosterone, like flat levels all the time, but suddenly you get full inhibition of your own production.
Right. And there
So
are other side effects of testosterone therapy associated with the loss of the daily pulse. And that's what you're
there
talking
you go. That exactly.
Yeah.
So to have low testosterone, you would say, no, it's bad. No, wait a minute. It's bad if it's low all the time.
Right.
But it's good that you get a low that usually happen at night, which triggers the release of LH, mostly LSH. Man, we don't release it much, and it's not very important anymore. Even LH does for both the sperm and the testosterone.
Right.
But you need that low level of testosterone to send a signal, hey, it's low, so start secreting LH during the night. And because you start to secrete LH overnight, in the morning, bang, testosterone level are high.
Right.
So me, that's why I prone a better approach if you're going to do testosterone replacement therapy is just to use transdermal, vary that process, use it in the morning. By mid-afternoon, so you kind of fit that curve of high testosterone in the morning, then going down toward the night. It's going to be, then it will really be bioidentical, not only in its form, but in its actions.
So let's talk about KCF18 for a second, the cytokine suicide inhibitor, because it actually looks like the receptor to cytokine. First of all, how many amino acids? How is it created? This is very interesting that you can mimic the receptor with the peptide.
Listen, you caught me a bit by surprise talking about this one. I've read the article months ago. Right now, you know more about it than I do, or that I remember. Looks like you read it like a few days ago. Amino acids, I know that there are not that many. It's a very simple sequence I remember to make, nothing special.
It has positive charges and hydrophobic residues. So it's a charge, it's a peptide that actually has an amphiphilic charge. So that makes it obviously attracted to the cytokine in one way or another.
Mm.
And then once it attaches itself to the cytokine is ineffective. The analogy that I came up with was you have a tire on your car, and your tire can turn freely and you can drive. But then when the police put the boot on the tire, the boot keeps it from turning, and now you're stuck. So this peptide attaches itself to the cytokine and makes the cytokine non-functional because it can no longer dock in a receptor and cause a cascade of inflammation.
So it just floats around and dies, basically. Degraded. Yeah.
Why is this better in your opinion? Why is this better than suppressing cytokines?
That's the thing. It's like everything else. What's the condition you're looking at? If you're looking at a cytokine storm, well, you want it to go down as fast as possible. So you bypass. Okay, if you have something that decreases inflammation, it's gonna take time because the decreased inflammation is the end result of processes that happened before that brings down the secretion of those inflammatory factors. You understand? There is a chain of events. In that case, you say no. It would be like somebody, no COVID. They had cytokine storms. Like fuck, they're gonna die like soon.
Right.
You want to bring it down right now, so you skip all those. Okay, no, just kill them. Kill the extra at once. So it's gonna be very fast and very effective.
Yeah. So obviously we're not allowed to talk about therapies for pandemics.
No.
But this one,
okay, sir.
This one would have been a great one, wouldn't it? Because if you're suffering from cytokine storm, your body is being literally eaten up by inflammation, then something that could take the existing inflammation that's already circulating and literally shut it off would be more
there you go.
than taking therapies that slowly will start to reduce the
production. One doesn't exclude the other. You jumpstart the process with that and continue with another compound that with time keep it down.
Yeah, that's it. That sounds because this one gets you safe. It's like rescues you fast.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you have a migraine, take aspirins, but it's not a good idea to take aspirins for weeks and months after. No, you're going to look at other things to bring down what are the causes of the migraine.
Right.
But on the spot, you just want normal. You don't want to suffer. You want the migraine down. So you cut it off at the beginning.
Now, does it sound like there are peptides that would pair well with this? Would you take the KCF18 with another peptide or other peptides?
I wouldn't, maybe not at the same time, because by itself it's going to do a great job, and I don't see you using it for more than a few days. And once you brought the inflammation like really down, then you could shift to another anti-inflammatory. And well, actually, one of the best I found, milligram per milligram, is that fragment 1,4 of thymosin beta 4.
Right.
Of course, if you take like 1 milligram of it, it's like 10 milligrams of TB4. So of course it's potent in that sense. But I found it kind of dwarfs all the other ones that are anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. What I want to do right now is I want to take an early break. And when we come back, let's change the topic. Maybe there's some other peptides that are exciting that you have been studying that we can cover, okay?
Yeah, there's a couple new ones.
Okay, good. All right, so sit tight. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Don't go away. Don't go away. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Lost Empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. You may be wondering why you're experiencing performance issues in the bedroom, but you're not alone. Over 30 million men experience a form of erectile dysfunction, and to many, it can feel defeating. Maybe you've tried pills, diets, exercise, but finally there's a proven solution. Meet Eddie, a discreet device designed to help men strengthen and maintain their erections. Pills can be costly and result in debilitating side effects, so I checked out Eddie by Giddy at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie and found out that over 95% of men experience positive results wearing Eddie, according to a 2021 clinical trial. This product simply works and is easy to use. Sign up for a subscription at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie and save $20 on your first device with promo code SUPER20. With free device resizes and 60-day guarantee, you'll be glad you tried it. Treat ED with Eddie at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie. That's EDDIE. More than 240 million Americans take supplements daily in pill form, but poor nutrient absorption means the promised results are rarely achieved. Healthy Cell uses a clinically proven patent-pending gel delivery system that increases absorption by 165% over pill form. Go to shrnetwork.biz/healthycell. That's HEALTHYCELL today and use the code SHR to save 20% off your purchase of Healthy Cell supplements. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expression of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's stem cell awakening serum, along with their other products, contains potent formulations of blue copper peptides and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. Remodel your skin today.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking with Jean-Francois Tremblay. He is in Dubai right now, on the streets of Dubai. And we were talking about a peptide called KCF18, which is a cytokine suicide inhibitor, which would be ideal to give to someone to rescue them from a cytokine storm while you apply other therapies to suppress the production of more cytokines. And these are interleukins, all these different cytokines is general term we're using. But this product, this peptide, looks like it should be in every doctor's quiver. But if you have somebody who's coming in and literally they're on fire with inflammation, you give them a shot of this first while you start to apply other therapies to reduce the production of new cytokines. Is that a good summary, Jean?
That's what I've seen done by some practitioners and with great results.
Okay. So let's talk about what other exciting peptides do you have in your sites these days?
Okay. Well, one that I'm actually very excited about, you know that thymosin alpha 1, one
Yes.
of its properties is anti-cancer, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I found some researches where okay, it's not an hybrid. They just attach a few more, I think, laterally. You attach laterally, or I don't remember, a few more amino acids.
Right.
And what it does, one study showed that it makes it 10 times more, the thymosin alpha 1 becomes 10 times more efficient in that anti-cancer activity
Right.
than the classical one without losing the other activities that thymosin alpha 1 has. So I think that's for some therapies, cancer related, that it's an amazing one to use.
So I know a woman who has just finished up a very expensive round of thymosin alpha 1 and another peptide called PNC 27.
Yeah.
And the results of her cancer are staggering.
It's
Her cancer is gone. I want to have her on the show.
I've seen that.
Yeah, huh?
Only with those two. You can throw in more, but if like you got to come down to a bare minimum of peptides to use for like financial reasons and all that, those two are the ones to use. Except that now instead of the normal TA1, I would use that modified version. It's even more potent against cancer.
Right. So what do you know about PNC 27? Is it exclusively designed for cancer, or is there other benefits to it as well?
Yeah, that I know. Yeah, it was studied for that. There were two, the PNC 28 too, that was pretty much as efficient. Basically, it kills cancer cells without affecting same cells.
Right.
It targets specifically, and it goes inside. As you mentioned, I know of another person who had lung cancers from years and years of smoking, and they went from uncountable number of cancer tissues in the lungs. After like 2 months, they could only find two little melanomas. The doctors, they had no clue. They don't want to know. It was a Toronto hospital, but they couldn't believe. They never saw that before.
Yeah. So this woman had this is confusing to me. So her cancer was in her brain, but the cancer was a cancer typically associated with lung cancer. So she had a form of cancer usually found in the lungs in her brain.
Look at this.
And the PNC 27 and the thymosin alpha 1 made it disappear. It's fascinating to me. How come no one talks about PNC 27, Jean, when we look at
because you want to know how far it went. There was one study that you could derivate the dosages of it. Now, if you look, all the studies you'll find, go on Scholar, Google, on anywhere. There is one study that you'll see maybe the abstract, but the article is not available. Somebody somehow forced the authors to withdraw the article. But that article would show those results, show how good it is and all that. And everybody knows cancer, disease in the Western world, it's an industry, so you don't want it to go.
Want to disrupt that.
When something that good comes around, they do everything to suppress it. That's why I challenge you, try to find now on the internet, anywhere, what were the dosages that were used in that study.
So I happen to know the dosages that this particular woman used. I don't know find it very quickly. This was a very expensive proposition on her part, by the way.
Mm.
But I know that she was using like 1 or 2 milligrams of thymosin alpha 1 in conjunction with like 2 or 3 milligrams a day of TNC 27, and it had amazing results. Amazing results.
I understand that for budget questions, but usually it's a bit higher for both.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mind. The dosages that are used that are derivated from that study, because one thing they couldn't do, if you'll remember, younger people, they'll know what we're talking about. When we would do research, we would go to a library and we would find the articles physically, right? Make a copy and then we would have it. So for a certain time, I don't know now, but I did find that study.
Right.
The paper thing. I made copies, derivated the dosages. In the study, they talk about it's 5 milligrams a day.
All right. Okay.
Clinically, the best results have been seen 5 milligrams twice a day, if you can afford it.
Right. Yeah, it's very expensive. So, Jean, what time is it there in Dubai?
It's 9:30 at night.
9:30 p.m. in the evening, right?
PM.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we've done our job. We've gotten the word out about these peptides. I'm going to let you go back to your fun. I'm sure you were having a lot of fun before I interrupted your evening.
Oh boy, no, that's no. Another peptide. We cannot make it because it's patented. Semaglutide. I don't know if you heard of I said before.
Yeah, we've done shows on it.
Older podcast, and I'm asked all the time, is there a peptide that is really good to lose weight? And my answer was no. I said, the day there is one, you'll know because I'll be losing weight. And I am with that peptide. It's amazing.
We did a show on semaglutide with Dr. Betsy Yurt last year. And but I don't like the way it makes me feel. It makes me nauseous, and I have no problem controlling my diet.
Okay, little trick is that instead of taking 1 full dose a week, you take 2 half doses during the week.
Okay.
So you mitigate all those side effects. Whichever dose you were to take, split it in half, take it twice a week. That's what I do. No side effects at all.
Jean, thank you for being here today. I know it was difficult, but thank you.
No. It's nice. I know there was minus like 10 degrees in my hometown, so I'm very happy to be here.
There you go. All right, thank you very much. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Okay, sir.
Take care. All right, we're going to take one quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to change things up today. I've been wanting to do more shows about various topics. It's too hard to interview Jean today. He's on the streets of Dubai, the car horns in the background, and obviously there was a lack of preparation to talk about this peptide. So we're going to change things up. We're going to talk about government for a minute, but not what you think. This isn't politics. This is government with a gentleman farmer friend of mine who knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio and my friend Bill Mitchell. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Have you been struggling to achieve results in the gym? Trouble sleeping through the night? Overwhelmed with stress or anxiety? Look no further than Infiniwell supplements. They have designed products to address specific needs like muscle growth, hormone balance, sleep, and anxiety from the first use. Infiniwell helps you live well. Go to shrnetwork.biz/bewell, that's BEWELL, and use code SHR20 and start living well today. If you'd like a shortcut to better sleep, more energy, and calmer, more stable moods, then you should make sure you're supplementing with magnesium daily. Let me tell you why. About 75% of people are magnesium deficient. This deficiency can lead to higher levels of anxiety, irritability, trouble sleeping, and low energy. It can even contribute to foot and leg cramps while you sleep. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers is the single best magnesium supplement in the world. Simply take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you'll be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels and how much more rested you feel when you wake up. I take Magnesium Breakthrough every night, and I sleep better because I use it. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 during checkout to save 10% off and get free shipping. Check it out. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional Kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/True Kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects, and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. So I don't have a. Let me do something. Hold on. You know. I learned. Kelly Carls was the general manager of Clear Channel when I started doing my show there, and I asked him for advice one time, and he said to me, "Don't ever waste your listeners' time. Respect their time." And that last interview, we gave some good information. It really wasn't what I wanted. And I didn't want to drag Jean-Pierre Tremblay out. He's on the streets of Dubai. It's 9:30 at night. There's cars passing and horns beeping, and he really wasn't prepared to discuss the information that I wanted to discuss. And so I thought, how do I not waste my listeners' time? How do I treat their time with respect? And I thought, well, maybe I can change the topic. Maybe I can just change things up. And what could I do but share things that I find fascinating with the audience? So this is Bill Mitchell. Bill is a friend of mine for probably close to 30 years since I lived in Louisville. We train together. We ride motorcycles together. Bill is a gentleman farmer. He lives on a beautiful farm. People board their horses on his farm. Retired airline pilot. And he is just what I've learned about Billy is he's an observer. Sometimes he'll start telling me stuff and I'm thinking, man, this is so interesting. And one of the things he told me about the other day, that I thought really more people need to know about is the story about the country Hong Kong. So we were talking about Hong Kong the other day, right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. So Hong Kong is a relatively new country compared to the United States, right?
Correct.
But Hong Kong has actually surpassed the productivity of the United States in a lot shorter time. Would you agree with that?
I'm not going to say they have surpassed, but I will say they've done in 60 years what took us about 250 years to do.
Okay. Now, so what is the interesting thing about Hong Kong? Hong Kong was ruled by the British for a while, right?
Correct. Yes.
And when it was under British rule, it was a British ruler that ran Hong Kong, right?
Correct.
He didn't like living in Hong Kong, did he?
No, he did not.
So tell his story and how this became a petri dish for government.
Well, he did not like Hong Kong. He didn't like being stationed there. He ran Hong Kong, but he would leave for up to 2 years at a time and go back to England. But he noticed every time he went back to Hong Kong that Hong Kong had made giant strides in being in economics. They were moving ahead without his leadership. They were moving ahead without the leadership of government, and essentially he started to call it benign neglect, that he didn't want to be there, so he kind of ignored the people of Hong Kong, and essentially he and the government stayed out of their way, and they let the people do what they wanted to do. And Hong Kong has really no natural resources to speak of, but yet with no natural resources, they have they're pretty much neck and neck with the United States on what an average family of four earns. And I'm sure you've got a lot of listeners that know a lot more detail about this than I do. I'm simply an armchair guy, and I guarantee you a lot of your listeners know more than me, but they can chime in if they want to. Hong Kong has accomplished in 60 years what it took us about 250 years to do, and they've done it with no natural resources. And it was simply government staying out of the way.
Now, so the word neglect is usually a negative. It's associated with disrepair, erosion, and ruination.
I like neglect. I want to be ignored. Personally, I want to be ignored. That's
right.
Just me personally. Now, what he designed is essentially he noticed the strides that the little, Carl, you and I are little people. We're little taxpayers. We're not elites. We're not in government. We're not powerful people. You and I are little taxpayers, just like the little people of Hong Kong. But yet he noticed every time he went back, they had made tremendous strides. And he realized the best thing for him to do was stay out of their way.
This is actually a case study for less government intervention.
Sure, of course it is.
Yes,
of course it is. It's a case study for less, because the thing is, little people like you and I pursuing their own interests, we will do better than being marshaled by an omnipotent government that thinks they know better. And if you look at Russia, Argentina, even Ireland, these other countries have tremendous natural resources. But how does a country like Hong Kong, which has no natural resources, exceed these other countries in per capita income?
And so what happens, I would imagine, so I want to go back at so neglect generally implies
benign. He called it benign neglect
because it didn't have a negative effect.
Correct.
Right? So he called it benign neglect.
Benign neglect. He wanted them to do the best, and he hoped the best for them, but he was simply going to stay out of their way.
I mean, this is how people should raise their children too, just for the record. With that being said, now think about this. So he didn't reward, he didn't punish, he just got out of their way and let them prosper. If they could do something that they could prosper from, instead of the government getting it. See, in the United States, anytime the government thinks you can prosper from something, they got a license for you to pay. They got taxes. They got special taxes. They have all this stuff because they want to ride along on your back. Because remember, government makes nothing.
That's right.
All they do is take our money and redistribute it, which, by the way, When the F are we going to get to have a say-so on what the government spends our money on? We give the government our money in taxes, and they spend it on stuff we really don't want them to spend it on.
That's
When are we going to
correct.
get a say-so? But that's another show. We could
Yeah.
do that on. So benign neglect basically was let the ingenuity of the people,
Of the individual.
reward the individual and get out of their way.
Correct. That's correct. But when you contrast that with, say, 150 years ago, it was not a foregone conclusion that if you left Europe that you were going to go to the United States. I mean, you might have gone to Argentina, you might have gone to other countries, and I guarantee you've got a lot of listeners that know a lot more about this than I do. But Argentina was neck and neck with the United States when it came to immigration, but they weren't socialist about 100 years ago. And
I think you have your finger over your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
they
it's
went
okay.
socialist about 100 years ago, and they've never recovered. And no, I mean, that was an example of big government. And now you've got Argentines that earn far less than people in Hong Kong or the United States because of the course they chose.
This is so fascinating to me because we keep being told here in the United States by government that we are too stupid to take care of ourselves. So they have to make decisions on everything from what we eat,
Yep.
and what we drive, and how we work, and how we treat our children. Government wants to inject themselves into every aspect
Everything.
of life. As opposed to Hong Kong, where they said, let's just get the fuck out of everybody's way.
Yeah. To me, the evidence is pretty clear cut. Hong Kong was a backwater. It was something the British Crown didn't even really care about. And look at the powerhouse that Hong Kong is today. And it's because people stayed out of their way.
Benign neglect. That's a great term. I love that. We need more benign neglect in the United States. Now, there's got to be.
Absolutely.
So what about, there are people who are going to say, yeah, but they don't have the FDA to protect the people from the pirates at the pharmaceutical industry. There's got to be some area where Hong Kong kind of paid price for this.
There may be. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of your viewers are a lot more knowledgeable than I am. And, the FDA, I think, has its purpose. I mean, remember back when you and I were born in the 60s, remember the thalidomide thing?
Yeah, thank God for the FDA on that one.
Yeah, thank God for the FDA on that one. But the thing is, you can also look at the thalidomide thing, which is definitely a feather in their cap. That was an accomplishment.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Thalidomide was the first drug ever approved by the FDA and then removed from the market. I was being facetious when I said.
Okay. I'm sorry, Carl.
The FDA approved thalidomide for nausea and I think it was nausea, and also if a woman started to have contractions early, they could use it to hold off the contractions. But they approved it first for the use with pregnant women.
Right.
Then they pulled it off the market after all the babies were born with no arms and legs. So
I got your point.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah, but the thing is, look at how many lives has the FDA cost when it comes to other drugs not being approved.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And
you're
so
right.
I don't really have all the answers I don't have all the answers, but benign neglect seems like whatever downside risk there is with a policy like that, I will take it over all these elites who think they know best for the little guy like you and me.
Well, and I wonder if this only works in a society where there are more altruistic people who are not trying to get over on someone else. I kind of feel like
I think profit. Listen, I'm gonna come out in defense of selfishness. If I want to make a profit, I should be and if I make the profit, I help other people. That's a win-win.
What if you make a profit and you hurt people, which happens a lot?
I don't want to hurt people. That's not in my interest.
And that's my point. I wonder if benign neglect won't work in the United States because we have a culture in the United States of getting over. Like I know people who are on disability, but clearly could work. but
Right.
they want to be on disability so they don't have to work. And
You're right.
Ocasio-Cortez lit the world on fire when she suggested that there should be money for people who choose not to work.
I was shocked at that.
I know, and so the reality is that when you look at the culture, I wonder if benign neglect worked in Hong Kong because basically the people of Hong Kong were more altruistic. They didn't want to get over on other people. They felt that every person should carry their own load. We don't have that in the United States. I would think that, and I would think that our government has helped make it this way because the government takes our taxes and gives it to people who don't work.
Yeah, I did my taxes yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, that's a bite, huh? So, but you
Yeah,
know, a lot of people would say, but you live in the greatest country in the world that allows you to make the kind of money to have to pay those kind of taxes. Now, I'm being facetious right now.
I understand. Well, but I'll counter that with Benjamin Franklin saying that it would be a cold-hearted government that would take 10% of your income. So I'll counter with that.
Yeah, and now they're taking 30, 40, and 50.
Correct.
So it's amazing. Well, I just think benign neglect is fascinating. I thought this was an interesting excursion to take on the show today. So
Sure.
we really had no more information.
Listen, I will always side with a little guy. And to me, you're a little guy. I'm a little guy. I'll always side with a little guy. I'll let them pursue what is in their best interest. They know better than anyone else.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now,
Yeah.
Bill, you live out on a farm. What's the weather like there today?
Yesterday was beautiful, little cloudy and overcast today, kind of cool, but I'm out in the country, so it's nice.
And so you flew as a commercial pilot for how many years?
35 years.
And I know you very well, and I know that you flew more frequently than the average pilot did.
Yeah, I flew a lot, but I enjoyed it. It was a great career, you know.
But now that you're retired, do you enjoy that?
I love being retired.
Now you wake up and do what you want to do when you want to do.
That's right. Exactly.
And if the weather's permitting, you'll be on your motorcycle. Everybody knows that about you.
In other words, now this little guy can do what this little guy wants to do.
So let's see here. So Cola Quench, who's watching on YouTube, says, really interesting info about Hong Kong. Prior to this, all I knew about HK was sultry stories in Clavel novels. I don't know what Clavel novels are, but anyway.
But no, the thing is, it was Hong Kong. The guy realized essentially by accident that by ignoring, he was not interested in Hong Kong. He wanted to be back in England, and by ignoring Hong Kong, that was really in the best interest of Hong Kong.
Yeah. Now, I wonder if government has changed there now. I wonder if they still adhere to this benign neglect, or is the government more meddlesome now?
Well, I think since it's a Chinese government, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're probably far more meddlesome.
Yeah, now. Yeah, I bet you're right.
Far more meddlesome.
Let's see something. So we have a guest that's today is one of those days. This is how things run for me. My first guest was late. And now my second guest has not replied. They said they would be here. They know they're supposed to. So we have a really interesting discussion with my second guest, if they show up, about a new device that's been approved by the FDA for erectile dysfunction that not only does it work on 95% of the men who tried it in the trial, but it actually can bring pleasure to your wife or your partner as well. And I hope they show up. This is really sad. It's just one of those days, I guess. I don't know. Oh, look, Elisa Profumo is here. Elisa, the folks from Giddy, they replied to my email, but they're not here. And I'm going to have to end the show soon. I got Billy Mitchell. We're talking about government in Hong Kong. Yeah, which people love. Thomas Whittingham just said, I'm a little guy. Interesting guest. Yeah.
I'm in favor of the little guy because Thomas knows more about what Thomas wants to do than anyone else.
What, Elisa? Oh, here they are. Brett Jacobson is just showing up now. I see him in the green room. That's excellent. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say goodbye to my good friend, Billy. Thank you for our education on Hong Kong government today. That was very fascinating.
My pleasure.
Thanks for filling in because I needed someone to fill that time.
Sure.
So, all right. Talk to you soon, Bill. We're gonna take one quick commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna be joined by Brett Jacobson, as promised, to talk to you about a device, an FDA-approved device that is literally changing the way people treat erectile dysfunction. So stay tuned. You're watching and listening to Superhuman Radio. We'll be right back. More than 240 million Americans take supplements daily in pill form, but poor nutrient absorption means the promised results are rarely achieved. Healthy Cell uses a clinically proven patent-pending gel delivery system that increases absorption by 165% over pill form. Go to shrnetwork.biz/healthycell. That's HEALTHYCELL today and use the code SHR to save 20% off your purchase of Healthy Cell supplements. Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional Kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/true kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality, wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/lost empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. If you've listened to this show for any length of time, you know that I have struggled to give up coffee for years. Coffee has destroyed my gut and it's impaired my health. Well, I haven't had coffee in months thanks to a product called Magic Mind. Magic Mind is the first nootropic blend I actually feel working. One shot and I'm good all day long. My memory is crystal clear and I'm able to function and have great focus without coffee or caffeine for that matter. If you want to try a product that really works, if you're like me and you want to give up coffee forever, or you just need something occasionally that will help you lift the brain fog, Magic Mind is your product. I promise you that this product you will feel when you use it. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Magic Mind, all one word, and use the code SHR for a whopping 20% off your first order. You may be wondering why you're experiencing performance issues in the bedroom, but you're not alone. Over 30 million men experience a form of erectile dysfunction, and to many, it can feel defeating. Maybe you've tried pills, diets, exercise, but finally there's a proven solution. Meet Eddie, a discreet device designed to help men strengthen and maintain their erections. Pills can be costly and result in debilitating side effects, so I checked out Eddie by Giddy at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie and found out that over 95% of men experience positive results wearing Eddie, according to a 2021 clinical trial. This product simply works and is easy to use. Sign up for a subscription at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie and save $20 on your first device with promo code SUPER20. With free device resizes and 60-day guarantee, you'll be glad you tried it. Treat ED with Eddie at shrnetwork.biz/Eddie. That's EDDIE. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Hey, welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're joined by Brett Jacobson. How you doing, Brett?
I'm doing great, Carl. How are you?
Wonderful. So erectile dysfunction is a big problem today. In fact, it's a big problem amongst young men too. This is not something just for your dad's generation. We have men out there that are in their 30s who have difficulty maintaining an erection. You're aware of this, right? I mean, you see this data, right?
Of course, actually even younger. Our youngest customers it's like in their teens, 19, 18. And it's something that for a long time has been ignored. A lot of men, it's like didn't think it was something that they could talk about. One of the interesting things about it is how broad a spectrum of problems it actually consists of. Most problems, it's rather binary. You have strep throat or you don't have strep throat. It's like you have, athlete's foot or you don't have athlete's foot. But when it comes to something like erectile dysfunction, there's a whole myriad of reasons that you could be suffering. You could be suffering from psychological aspects. You could be suffering from physical aspects. It can be a combination of both. For most men, it is a combination of both psychological aspects as well as physical aspects. But yeah, the days of people only looking at it as this is something for somebody who's older, they're just long gone. And when you take into account side effects of medications, PTSD-induced ED, you see a tremendous amount of work that we're doing with the VA and DOD, and that's due to the number of veterans who come back and they're on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, opioids. All of these, the side effects of these is diminished performance in the bedroom. And that's one of the interesting things is how you talk about it is rather different depending on age. And similar to that actually of mental illness. It used to be shell shock. George Carlin used to have a bit about how that's changed over time. It's like, and mental health wasn't something that you really talked about. Erectile dysfunction is in that same bucket where it's only just starting to become something that people are comfortable. It's like discussing.
I want to dig deep into this because I've actually talked about this on the show before. There are a lot of guys out there who will take a PDE5 inhibitor just because it conveys to them that everything's going to be okay, and their anxiety level drops. The first time a man has a bad response in bed, that literally will cast a shadow over every other time he gets in bed. He starts to think about it before he gets in bed. Am I going to have a problem? Do I want this girl to know I really like her? And they put all this performance pressure on themselves that leads to anxiety. And you can't have an erection when there's anxiety in your body. In fact, you can't have an erection when a saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. Like this is part of evolution. Like if you're freaked out, your body goes, you can't be making babies right now. You need to run. Obviously, something's going wrong. And so there's a lot of guys out there who take the PDE5 inhibitor just because they go, everything's going to be okay. And it's not even the nitric oxide in their penis that's changing. It's their attitude about that sexual experience. There's studies that are now showing this.
Yeah, it's interesting, Carl, because it's not just the ED sufferer, but it's also the partner of the ED sufferer. There's a lot that plays into obviously intimacy. It's like in couples, it's like in bed together where you've got them saying, I don't feel pretty enough. It's like, I'm not good in bed. It's my fault. He doesn't love me. He must be cheating on me. I'm doing something wrong. There's so many other aspects that come into play. So it becomes one of those things where it kind of feeds off one another, where you've got the guy feels uncomfortable and now his partner notices and detects that he feels uncomfortable. And now they feel uncomfortable. And it becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy where like, they work themselves into a state. It's like where it makes the situation, it's like far worse. A large percentage of our customers are actually, it's like women and gay men buying for their partner. And the reason for that is it's one of the first buying decisions that a partner can make to positively impact the outcome of their sexual activity. It's without, and take agency of their own, it's like relationship. And that's not the norm. If you ask a guy, hey, I want you to go and see a doctor, and he says no, there's not really a lot of choices there. If he wasn't willing to see a doctor, bringing home a penis pump or a vacuum device, that thing's going right into the trash can.
Right.
Whereas with Eddie, it's like partners will buy it, bring it home and say, hey, honey, I got something fun for us.
I was just going to say, can I hold it up in front of the camera? You guys have no problem with me showing what it. Okay.
No.
I mean, look at this. This looks like something you would buy at a store where they sell the paraphernalia to make love more fun. I mean, that's
so it's interesting. So the inventor of the product was actually an 88-year-old man suffering from prostate cancer. He was living in a retirement community. He had background. He was a machinist and engineer, and he realized that all the products on the market, whether they be drugs or devices, either tried to increase blood flow into the penis or decrease blood flow out. But in an effort to do one of those two things, they inadvertently did the opposite. So if you take, it's like one of these ED medications, they increase blood flow and blood volume into the penis, but they also, it's like increase blood volume out. It's so for those men who can take those products, and only about 3% of men with ED take ED meds on a regular basis. That's it. The vast majority of men are not dealing with a venal leakage issue. They're dealing with psychological aspects. They're dealing with physical aspects. There's a combination. And what was interesting was, so this gentleman, it's like worked on this device for a year until he got removed from his retirement community after they had a massive outbreak of sexually transmitted diseases. They blamed them on him after they confiscated about 3 dozen of these devices. And it's like it became kind of crazy grandpa's project at home. And when we originally got the IP, it's like we took it to an engineer, it's like from Dartmouth College. And I said, pull this thing apart. Tell me how it works, if it works, why it works, if we can make it better. And he came back to me and he said, this thing's brilliant. And I said, well, it just looks like a different shape to a traditional like ring.
Ring,
and
right.
He said, well, I was like, what's so brilliant about it? And he said, well, here's the interesting thing. He's like, if you look at constriction devices, vacuum devices, and other ED, it's like devices, they're somewhere in the 15 to 35% efficacy range. If you look at drugs on a per instance basis, they're taken in. It's deceptive because if you look at, a Pfizer study, it might show you an 84% effective rate, for example. But that's based on a month-long trial during which somebody was able to achieve an erection once during the trial. Not necessarily each time they took the medication, not necessarily long enough or strong enough to engage in sexual activity, just that they got an erection. And so when you piece those things apart, he said, just from this, it's like this guy creating the product and A/B testing it, he was already over 55% effective. And we can take it if we have 4 different sizes. We use modern day thermoplastics. We use state-of-the-art imagery, blah, blah, blah. We can get to over 85% effective. And that was the target, and we eclipsed that. And I said, what's the determining factor here? He said, well, here's the irony. Penis is shaped like an oval. It's not shaped like a circle. Right. However, thousands of years ago, and if you look back, it's like Egypt, it's like China, it's like they were using constriction devices. It's like literally thousands of years ago, made out of all different types of materials over the years. And everybody just assumed a circle was the natural shape to use, but it's not. And when you try to cram an oval into a circle, you put a lot of pressure on the widest points, and that happens to interfere with it's like the arterial blood flow into the penis. So as a result, it's like the normal physiology of an erection is it's like open up the arteries, close down the veins. What you're actually doing with the traditional devices is actually closing down the arterial blood flow. It's like an opening up the veins, the complete opposite of the normal physiology of an erection. And what Eddie actually does is it allows you to, it's like open up and leave that arterial blood flow to be unencumbered, while closing off, it's like that venal leakage issue that men are dealing with. And that's where it's like it's working and enhancing the normal physiology of an erection as opposed to working against it. And it came as a result of this guy was the first guy to look at imagery to determine what the blood flow patterns of the penis were in order to create an ED device. Because if you look at even the first penis pump, patented in 1874, there was no imagery technology back then in order to determine blood flow patterns. They looked at a penis. They said, okay, close enough to a circle, make it a circle.
Yeah, it's round. That's it. Circle.
Yeah, and that's what they based it off of. So that it's an interesting, it's like evolution that's happened. And it's been one of those spaces where nobody's really traditionally designed products specifically for this space. We actually took the time to do that.
So to better understand from my little brain, it basically permits blood flow in, but not out.
Correct.
So because most men who have a form of ED, they will get aroused and they will get some amount of an erection, but not stiff enough to actually have sex.
No.
But
or lose it very quickly.
Yeah, so this basically helps because your penis is obviously pumping blood in, but as you pointed out, it's escaping at a rate that doesn't permit the penis to become engorged. So this basically harnesses that error and gives you a full-on erection.
Yeah. And that's where I say it's like we look at it as it's like enhancing the normal physiology of an erection. Whereas all these existing products, if you look at a pump, what's it doing? It's artificially pulling blood in. It's like trying to make your finger larger by sucking on it. Of course, you're pulling more blood in, but you're not actually making your finger any bigger. It's like it's like overextending. It's like the capillaries. It's like and eventually causing bruising. And then what they're doing after that is you're sliding the constriction device off of the vacuum tube onto the penis, which is just holding that blood that you've sucked in artificially. You're holding it there, which is why these devices aren't particularly effective compared to Eddie, which is again enhancing or working along with the normal physiology of an erection.
Now, this is the box. I want to show my audience this nice little green box, and there's several of these in there. So are these all different size? Yeah, these are all different sizes. So
in your particular case, it's like it's like a trial pack. So for insurance reasons, we're not allowed to send different sizes. It's like to customers. So we've got a couple of different sizing techniques. One is measuring the circumference or the girth of the penis. It's not about length at all. And then determining size. The other way to determine it is based off of condom size. So we've got two different sizing options on the website at getmegiddy.com. But we also have a free size replacement program because ultimately what you'll find is if you don't have the correct size, it's not going to work. If it's too small, it's like we always tell people like err on the side of smaller rather than larger. If it's too small, it's still going to work for you. It's not going to be comfortable, and then you can always size up. Again, free size replacements. But when it comes to it's like somebody having one that's too large for obvious reasons, it's not going to work at all. And what you find is that everybody in the clinical trials is actually really interesting. Had a similar pattern, which is as soon as they were in the right size, an initial peak. It's like, and then a plateau. And what you found was that we were like, why is there a plateau? And then there was all of a sudden another peak weeks later. And what we found was that initially you had men who were just, hey, this is working. This is fantastic. But there was almost a psychological aspect of people saying, I need to be super conservative. I don't want to scare the erection away. I don't want to try anything. This is going to be missionary position, get in, get out. So you pardon the pun. It's like, but, I don't want to try anything adventurous because I'm just happy that this is working.
Working, right.
But as the couples became more comfortable with one another and more comfortable using the device, they would start experimenting and broadening things out, and the level of intimacy would increase. And then all of a sudden they start trying new things or trying things they used to try that it's like stopped working for them a long time ago. And then all of a sudden you saw another peak again. So it's interesting that it's not people look at erections in terms of them being binary, but it's not a binary thing. It's like something that has various degrees. How long does your erection last? How sustainable is it? How firm is it? It's like, are you able to, have an erection a second time or a third time? It's like, those are factors that come into play based upon those levels of arousal and intimacy, which, are affected just as much as the psychological aspect as they are by the physical aspect.
So there seems to be some anatomical things on here. So like there's two little bumps that would be at the top of the penis in the center, really where like that main artery is. Is that there to help the process in some way or to give stimulation or?
So if you actually look at the device, every aspect of it, it's like translated into improved performance. So even if you look at, for example, the two bumps that actually straddle the dorsal vein, the bridge in between them is not at the same height as the rest of the interior of the device. That made about a 6% difference in performance overall. So when people look at this thing, it looks like a very simple device. It's very easy to look at something and go, oh, it's just a piece of plastic. This thing costs 5 cents. There's actually quite a bit of engineering that goes into this. Just the process of making injection molded thermoplastic that has no seam, so it doesn't create any irritation to the skin.
Oh, yeah.
It's an unbelievable process to go through. Traditional injection molding has a 15% tolerance. 15% tolerance is the difference between, it's like, cutting somebody, it's like, and it being a completely, it's like smooth, it's like a feel. So
Right.
we actually had to go through the process of dialing down that tolerance down to 0.1%, and finding manufacturers who would work with us who could do that and do it at volume, do it in repetition. You're also only looking at the overmold. There's actually multiple layers to the device. There's a substrate. One of the things that we had to play around with was the idea that there are varying size men that are going to be in each size device. There's 4 different sizes in the range, but no 2 men are identical in terms of their exact size and proportions. So you needed something that provided linear expansion and contraction and not parabolic expansion and contraction. Because otherwise you were going to have different results for different men depending on they fell within a particular size range.
Yeah, you lose the whole purpose of the anatomical contouring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a tremendous amount of time was spent on just the engineering of the substrate. It took us 18 months to dial in and get right and take it to the, yeah, you could create something that was 50% effective, but to take it to something that was 95% effective, that's a whole different level of engineering that needs to go into that. So we spent a lot of time. It's like just the materials themselves. I mean, they're the highest grade thermoplastics that are on the market. When we told our manufacturers which thermoplastics we wanted to use, they literally laughed at us. They said, nobody uses those. And I said, why not? And I said, aren't they the best? And then they said, yeah, but they're prohibitively expensive. Like, nobody uses them. And I said, this is going to go on somebody's penis. It's going to be in an area where there's a lot of friction. Like, we cannot have a seam. We cannot have a lower grade thermoplastic. It's like, it's going to cause irritation. Right. And so there was a tremendous amount of time and energy that went into, it's like dialing these things in and getting them right.
So talk about so there's ribbing on the top. I got to believe that that's for clitoral stimulation for her, right?
Or for him. It's depending on where it's being used, depends on positioning. But yeah, it's like we did keep partners in mind. There's a lot of different dynamics that obviously go into it's like sex and which positions people enjoy and how they enjoy them. And ultimately what we found is that there were a lot of psychological aspects that we had to deal with. And again, I point back to psychological aspects. What are the common things that a therapist will tell it's like couples to do if they're having trouble is they'll say, it's like bring a toy into the bedroom, use a vibrator, for example. The reason for that is not what people traditionally think. The reason for it is actually because if your partner's enjoying themselves, it breaks down that barrier of what I was mentioning earlier, where it's like the couples kind of work themselves into, it's like a negative situation because there's a sense of anxiety attached to the moment. And then that anxiety is exacerbated by each individual's feelings in that moment. So them thinking they're not pretty enough or they're not good in bed or whatever that happens to be. Once they're enjoying themselves, it takes a lot of the pressure off the man to perform. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that kept that in mind, that only wasn't focused on, it's like bringing more attention to his penis, but also it's like took into account, it's like the partner as well. Because ultimately that's what you want, is you want a positive experience for both people.
So another fascinating thing about this is that it comes with a series of bands that I would imagine are what close the bottom, right? Yep. So you have different levels of pressure. So a man can experiment with those as well. But I got to think that, when I was in my 20s, when we were all in our 20s, the erections were the best.
Those were the days, weren't they?
Yeah, those were the days. You're absolutely right. I was living in Vegas at the time, so it was like Sodom and Gomorrah. But, I got to believe that even if you don't have full-on ED, this is going to give you a much more robust erection because you'll actually get a slight sense of engorgement, right? Which we want. Like, that's what we had when we were in our 20s.
Well, that's what you're doing. Again, it's like you're enhancing the normal physiology of an erection. So you're always going to, so that's certainly a percentage of our customers. are men who are, it's like looking for, it's like enhancement. They're not necessarily looking to deal with, it's like strictly speaking, erectile dysfunction. A lot of our customers don't say that they have erectile dysfunction. About a half of our customers, it's like, say they don't have erectile dysfunction. There's so many aspects that come into play. It's like side effects of cardiac drugs, side effects of hair growth medication, all these things. A lot of the medications that men take, it's like, can result in diminished performance in the bedroom. It's interesting when we first, it's like, started dealing with, it's like, doctors. We assumed that our natural customer is going to be a urologist, but urology is actually not where we sell the majority of our products. It's in all the other departments. Only 1% of men will ever even see a urologist in their lives. But
Right.
if you go to, for example, a cardiologist will tell you, it's like, what's your biggest problem with your patient? They'll say they don't eat right, they don't exercise, they're ignorant of their own health, they're lazy. But what actually is happening in that scenario is cardiologist puts you on a cardiac drug. The result of that is diminished performance in the bedroom. Maybe you used to go on a walk with your wife 3 times a week. Maybe you used to go out dancing once a month. All those things fall off because there's no reward mechanism in the relationship anymore. Even
Right.
things like household chores fall off. So what happens? Stop eating together. Now you're eating more fast food. Now you're eating at a bar. And now down the line, there's a cardiac event. Whether that's a bypass surgery or a heart attack is kind of irrelevant. It was all started by the fact that you were put on a cardiac drug, which was meant to help you. But the side effects of that were diminished performance in the bedroom. So when you look at, it's like, better erections and better sex, it's not just better erections and better sex. It's better overall health. And when you
Yes.
look at, it's like, the number of, it's like, areas that we impact, you're talking about endocrinology. It's like men who are diabetics. It's like men on cardiac drugs. It's like opioids. It's like orgasms, increase pain tolerance, decrease stress, decrease anxiety, help with sleep patterns.
And they decrease prostate cancer. I did a show. We had a TV show. Elisa and I used to do 10 years ago, and we talked about 2 watershed studies that showed that orgasm bulletproofs the prostate against prostate cancer, and the men who had the most orgasms had the lowest occurrence of any kind of benign prostate hyperplasia or prostate cancer. And so, from an evolutionary perspective, we have one job. It's not to buy a house with a picket fence and send our kids to medical school. It's to make babies and die. That's our species specific job number one. And the more sex you have, your body rewards you with things that actually improve health and longevity. And one of those things is your prostate stays healthy because it's still functioning. You look at guys with prostate cancer, I can tell you right now, they haven't had sex in a long time. They're not having sex anymore. And it could be something as benign as my erections don't get as hard. I'm embarrassed. I just shy away from sex. That if they could use a device like this and even knock it out once a week, their prostate is going to thank them for the rest of their lives.
Well, here, I'll give you an interesting study, Carl, is that they found that every single man, they did autopsies on men, varying different ages all over the world, and found that 100% of men have prostate cancer cells in their body. 100% of men will end up with prostate cancer. It's a question of, will you get prostate cancer during the term of your life that will adversely affect your life or not? You're going to get it. It's going to happen. The question is it going to affect your life in any material way, or is it not? And that's going to be determined by a lot of things that you're talking about. It's like how well you look after yourself, your level of sexual activity. It's like these are things that you can do that can reduce the chances that you end up with the type of prostate cancer that leads to surgery or unfortunately it's like death. That being said, a tremendous number of men who have had to undergo prostate cancer surgeries, had suffered from prostate cancer and had other types of prostate cancer treatment, are unable to get an erection afterwards. And we've been able to work with those men successfully with our product.
Okay, so this is a subscription product. Why? Why don't I just buy one and it lasts me for years?
So the simple answer is it could, theoretically. That being said, we found that we did a survey of over 15,000 customers. We found that less than 10% of customers wash their device even a single time, let alone each time before and after use. And we found the same thing happened during the studies, but we thought, well, during the studies, yeah, they're getting them for free. So, of course, they're not looking after them. They'll just come back and they'll ask for another one. But we actually found the same thing happened with men in general, is they utilize the device, take it off, throw it back in the nightstand or throw it back in the toiletry bag, not to be touched till next time. And what we found was that it's like women were actually asking for the devices to be replaced more often than men were. And we couldn't figure out why. And then we realized it was a proximity issue. It's that for of obvious reasons, you don't clean something, over time it will start to smell. And because it's like partners are closer to that device than you are yourself, you're going to be about 3 feet away from your penis at any given time, whereas your partner is going to be right up front and close to personal to it. It's like they're going to notice if there's any sort of odor, if something it's like is a little bit off. So the biggest factor was the hygiene factor, which is we took into account people don't clean the device. As a result, the plastic can become it's like brittle. If you clean it, it's like that does not happen. But if you leave it's like bodily fluids on it, it can dry it out. It's like it can do the same for the bands. It can dry them out.
Well, never mind that. But what about, I mean, let's be honest. When it comes to hygiene, we take a backseat to women.
Absolutely.
And
you also have to keep in mind the other factors, which are change of sexual partner. You know, new girlfriend says you're not using the same with your ex.
Yeah, your new girlfriend doesn't even want to sleep on the same sheets as your old girlfriend. Never mind use the same Eddie device. But the other thing was just because of being sanitary. I mean, if you're using this like most guys would and throw it in the drawer and then take it out and use it again, you could actually give your girlfriend what is it, a urinary tract infection maybe or something by some sort of fungus.
And I mean, depending on it's like obviously it's like where it's being kept and how often it's being used, other factors. But generally speaking, keeping anything that's covered in bodily fluids, it's like in a dark place. It's like it not being cleaned is not a particularly good idea. We recommend it being washed before and after each use, but we've also taken into account what's the normal way that it's actually being used by men. And what we found was that it was a better way to do it. It's like you also have the issue of depending on how frequently it's being used and how it's being used is that the product can deform over time. It's like it's like stretch out. People like you manipulate the device because of how it's being used. It's rather high. It's like energy area, high friction area it's being used in. Those can it's like impact the performance long term. So we wanted to make sure that we always were providing somebody that performed at an optimal performance rate. It's like anytime people need it.
So let me put this placard back up, this image, and then let's talk about, so what is it that people do? So if someone goes to shrnetwork.biz/Eddie, EDDIE, and uses the code super 20, SUPER20, they'll save $20 off. But is that a subscription or is that one-time use? Explain how people pay for this, how they buy it.
It's a subscription program. We've got a 1-pack or a 2-pack. 1-pack is $188 before discount, $168 with the discount. Free shipping, free size replacements. If there's any issue for any reason, we offer people a money back guarantee. Obviously, we cannot take the devices back because it's considering where it's being used. It is medical waste at that point. So there is a small fee that we charge people in the event that they don't the device doesn't work for them and they want to return it and they want a refund. That being said, we've got about a 1.8% refund rate. The vast majority of men who are utilizing the device have found it to be unbelievably effective for them. And that being said, there is no product that is perfect for every man. It is not possible to create a product that's perfect for every man. That being said, when you look at it backwards, you say for $188 and you could never have sex again, or you couldn't have sex the way you wanted to, is that too high a price to pay? I don't think so.
Let's be honest. I mean, even though a lot of these PDE5 inhibitors are coming out of patent protection and so on, they're still expensive, and you still got to take them before every sex episode. And
they don't work for the majority of men.
They upset your stomach. Some men get anxiety from them. There's a host of unwanted effects from them.
Yeah, these are not. keep in mind these products weren't devised for the treatment of ED. They were discovered as a result of something else. Viagra was a blood pressure medication. And then they realized, wait a second, there's side effects. It's like, oh, we can sell it and market it as this type of product. But they aren't without their own risks. They don't work for the vast majority of men, and that's why they're not consumed by the vast majority of men. There's also, it's like delay aspects of it. Ideally, they're not supposed to be mixed with alcohol. Most people, it's like, or a lot of people who are engaging.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. That's like I would venture to say that 80% of the people watching this show right now, your mother and father were drunk when they conceived you. You're not supposed to conceive children when using alcohol. Well, we're all lost. We'll forget about that one. Let's just go past that one there. But yeah, everybody.
So there's a lot of factors that come into to play. It's like when it comes to, it's like finding a product that works ideally for somebody, and we have no risk whatsoever. At the end of the day, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Give it a shot. See how it works for you. We'd love to hear your feedback. And at the end of the day, the vast majority of men see a big increase in their performance afterwards and are able to address their problem. We have a fantastic ED guide series online, which addresses all different aspects of erectile dysfunction. The needs of somebody who's a 23-year-old veteran who wants to date with ED are very different to the needs of somebody who's a father of 3 with prostate cancer and who's looking to re-engage intimacy in their relationship. And we deal with all those issues in terms of psychological as well as the physical aspects. We look at things like nutrition. We look at things like exercise and explain to them, at least whether you want to do them or you don't. Ultimately, all those things are your choice, but we at least lay out the facts for you and say, hey, this is how this product works in conjunction with these other aspects. If you choose to invest in, it's like looking after yourself in better ways with regards to nutrition, with regards to exercise, those are only stepping stones that are going to make for a better experience overall.
Yeah, I love it. I got to tell you the truth. I train because I want bigger muscles. Mm-hmm. I'm all about performance, improving performance. And this will improve performance for me without having to take a drug, and I look at it like
there's no side effects whatsoever.
I look at it like
the side effects are all, it's like beneficial. They're beneficial to your overall health. It's beneficial to your relationship and your marriage. It's beneficial to, it's like self-esteem. It's beneficial. It's in every imaginable way. Having a functioning sexual health is important to a man's life. And when you look at the different options that are out there, it is the least invasive, highest return on investment that you're going to find.
Yeah, and your partner will feel something good too. I just looking at it, you can see that. One last question. I know priapism, is that what it's called when the penis becomes engorged and doesn't want to release? Is a dangerous condition that occurs with men who use drug-related ED remedies. The rule of thumb is 4 hours because blood flow isn't going in and out, so you have oxygen-starved blood in the corpus cavernosa, and tissue can actually start dying. Mm-hmm. I would imagine just take the bands off and everything comes back to normal, right? With this,
yeah. Obviously, we don't recommend that you wear the device for an extended period of time for hours by any means. There's guidelines in the packaging that spell all these warnings out. That being said, no, there's no risk of getting it caught on. A lot of time was spent on the development. Even if you look at the bands, they have those little, it's like wings on them. On the edges, on the bands themselves. Yeah, and the reason those were actually devised were we realized that during testing that we had veterans, had dexterity issues as a result of amputation. Then we had men who had suffered from arthritis, and they had dexterity issues as a result of arthritis. So we invented, bands with wings on them that allowed you to easily manipulate the band. So every aspect of this device has really been thought through in terms of how can we provide somebody the best experience, and the best results while weighing up what are the pros and cons to every aspect. For example, could we make the wings longer? We could, but then you're talking about them interfering with it's like the activity itself. It's like, so all these things have pluses and minuses, and we made sure that we could balance all of these things and look at them so that we could provide, it's like really the best product on the market, something that we could go to a man honestly and say, look, I know this is the best performing ED device that's out there. Try it out. If it doesn't work for you, no problem. But I can confidently say that we put our best foot forward.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really expensive stuff out there nowadays, these shockwave devices, and not all men see anything from those. I just want to mention that to those of you who
shockwave therapy has been widely debunked. It's been around since the 70s. There's a lot of gimmicky products out there. They
only work for men who have plaque buildup in the corpus cavernosa. If your problem isn't plaque, if your problem is anxiety, if your problem is the valve in the back of the penis doesn't work right anymore, those devices don't do anything for you, and they're very expensive, $1,000 quite often to buy one, and $3,200 to go to a clinic and have it done for you. One more time, shrnetwork.biz/Eddie, EDDIE. Use the code SUPER20 and save $20 off. And remember, this is a performance device. We all want to perform better. I want to perform better in the gym. I want to perform better in bed. I'm going to give it a try. I got to be honest with you. I haven't used it yet, but I am going to try it. The other thing I wanted to mention to the audience is we do great shows. We produce great content, 3, 4, 5 shows a week sometimes. All of this is free because of the sponsors. So I say this all the time. Eddie by Giddy is a new sponsor. Whenever possible, patronize the sponsors because they make the show possible. And you know what? You don't have to let anybody know you're doing this. You could buy it, try it. You may find out that you love it. Maybe you don't. They have a way for you to communicate with them. It's a money back guarantee, right? They have 60 days, right?
Yep. And one of the other aspects, people have to keep in mind there's different ways to use products. So there's a lot of men who use our product essentially as a trainer. They use it it's like during masturbation, they use it on their own. But when it comes to it's like sex with their partner, they keep it in the drawer. So there's different ways that people use different products. Some people find that they use it because they prefer it's like engaging in sexual activity using the device, not even because they necessarily need it, but they prefer it's like having that increase in performance. It's whatever is comfortable to you, whatever makes you feel better. I have it's like veterans who've written to me who say the fact that it's in the drawer gives me all the peace of mind that I need. It's not that I need to use it. I just want to know that it's there in case. And that having a backup is enough for me to make me feel more comfortable and get over my anxiety or whatever it's like psychological aspects that they're dealing with.
So show them some love. Check out Eddie by Giddy, shrnetwork.biz/Eddie, EDDIE. Use the code SUPER20, SUPER20 to save $20 off. Hey, Brett, thanks for being here today, brother.
Appreciate the time, Carl.
And thanks for being a sponsor. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. I just have to put one thing up. When we were talking about Hong Kong, we had a couple comments. Onyx6101 on YouTube. He said, what is interesting about Hong Kong is the people of Hong Kong are the longest lived in the world, and they are the largest consumers of red meat, equivalent to 2 times 10-ounce steak a day. Dr. Sean Baker talked about this too. I think Hong Kong should be a study, really, because they've apparently figured out how to govern people and stay out of their way at the same time, which is something we could use here in the United States. Yeah, Colacoin said that Dr. Sean Baker has said this as well. All right, so thank you for your participation. Thanks to my friend Billy Mitchell for jumping in at the last minute and helping me make a good transition for today's show. And of course, thank you to Jean-Francois Tremblay for making himself available while he was walking in the streets of Dubai, which made the interview hard, difficult, but at least we did get some of the good information out there. And we'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Thank you for being here today. Share the show.